Overthinking is something that quietly eats away at the peace of a person. It doesn't always arrive with loud alarms. It creeps in gently, disguised as just thinking things through. But before you realize it, hours have passed, your heart is restless, and your mind is exhausted. It drains your emotional energy, makes your faith feel heavy, and robs you of the ability to be present in the moment. You might find yourself lying in bed at night, replaying conversations in your head, worrying about things that haven't even happened, or regretting actions from years ago that you cannot change. This cycle becomes a thief not just of time, but of inner peace. When a person overthinks, they create problems in their mind that don't even exist in reality. They rehearse negative scenarios, imagining every possible way things could go wrong. This not only increases anxiety, but it also paralyzes action. Instead of doing something to improve the situation, they stay stuck in a loop of what-ifs. The more you entertain these thoughts, the more real they feel, and the more powerless you feel to break free from them. This is why overthinking is not simply a bad habit. It is an emotional trap that can affect your spiritual state, your health, and your relationships. From a spiritual perspective, overthinking often shows a lack of trust in Allah's plan. It is as though we believe that by thinking more, we can somehow control the outcome. But in reality, our control is limited to our actions, not the results. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us to tie our camel, meaning to take practical steps, and then to rely completely on Allah. Overthinking is like tying the camel, then standing beside it all night, worrying that it might run away, instead of trusting the one who controls all affairs. This constant mental strain can make worship feel heavy and dua feel less sincere because the heart is clouded with unnecessary noise. Overthinking also drains emotional energy. Every day, a person has a limited amount of mental strength. If most of that energy is spent on imaginary problems, little is left for actual challenges. This is why some people feel exhausted before the day even begins. Their mind has already been running marathons since the moment they woke up. It's like leaving a phone's flashlight on all night. By morning, the battery is almost gone, even though you haven't really used the phone for anything productive. Breaking free from overthinking requires awareness. You must notice when your thoughts are no longer helpful but have become repetitive and draining. This awareness allows you to interrupt the cycle. Ask yourself, is this thought bringing me closer to a solution, or is it just making me more anxious? If it's the latter, it's time to stop feeding it. Redirect your focus to something productive, whether it's a small task, a short walk, or reciting a few verses of the Quran. These actions pull your mind away from the spiral and remind you of what truly matters. Another important step is to practice gratitude. Gratitude shifts your attention from what could go wrong to what is already right. The more you notice the blessings you have, the less space your mind will have for unnecessary fears. Even something as simple as breathing deeply and thanking Allah for that breath can bring calm to an anxious heart. This doesn't mean you ignore problems. It means you face them with a balanced mind and a trusting heart. Overthinking drains emotional energy because it keeps you living in moments that don't exist, either in the past that is gone or the future that hasn't arrived. True peace comes when you live in the present, do your best, and leave the rest to Allah. By doing so, You conserve your emotional energy for what truly matters, and you free your heart from the weight of unnecessary worry. Most overthinking is rooted in fear, fear of the unknown, fear of making a mistake, fear of what others might think, and sometimes even fear of success itself. It also grows from holding on to regrets of the past or imagining disasters in the future. This fear-driven thinking traps the mind in endless circles, where instead of moving forward, you keep turning back to the same thoughts over and over again. It is important to understand that fear of what might happen in the future is nothing more than your imagination. It is like watching a movie in your head, one that you are writing, directing, and acting in, but it is not real. The more you replay it, the more it feels real, and the more your body reacts with stress, tension, and even physical discomfort. Fear of the unknown is natural. Every human being experiences it at some point. But when fear starts to control your decisions and your peace of mind, it becomes harmful. Life, by its nature, is uncertain. No matter how much you plan, you will never have absolute control over what happens next. That is why overthinking is such a dangerous habit. It gives you the illusion that if you think enough, you can prepare for every possibility. In reality, overthinking often blinds you to the opportunities and blessings that are right in front of you. The past can also be a major fuel for overthinking. Many people constantly replay moments they regret, words they wish they could take back, choices they wish they could change, mistakes they wish they had avoided. While reflecting on the past to learn lessons is healthy, living in the past is not. It is like trying to drive forward while staring into the rear. You mirror the entire time. Eventually you will crash. The past is meant to guide you, not to chain you. If Allah, the Most Merciful, has forgiven you when you sincerely repented, then who are you to keep punishing yourself? Future fears and past regrets are two sides of the same coin. One traps you in what has already gone, and the other traps you in what has not yet come. Together, they create a storm in the mind that never allows you to fully live in the present. The mind becomes busy with questions like, what if this happens? What if I lose? What if they judge me? What if I'm not ready? These questions rarely lead to answers. They usually lead to more questions. Islam teaches us a balance. We are encouraged to think and plan, but not to the point where thinking turns into fear that paralyzes action. The Quran reminds us that every soul will only get what Allah has already written for it. This is not an excuse to stop working hard, but a comfort to know that after you have done your part, you can rest your heart in the plan of the one who knows the future better than you know the present. One powerful way to break free from this fear-driven overthinking is to shift your focus from what if it goes wrong to what if it goes right. This simple change can bring hope where there was once anxiety. It can open your eyes to opportunities instead of just dangers. The mind is like a garden. If you plant seeds of fear, they will grow into worry. If you plant seeds of trust, they will grow into peace. Fear will always exist in some form, but it doesn't have to control you. When you remember that every trial is already known by Allah, and that He never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear, you find the courage to move forward without drowning in endless thoughts. Instead of fearing the unknown, you start trusting the one who knows all. In the teachings of Islam, there is a profound principle that can free a person from the heavy chains of overthinking, reliance on Allah known as tawakkul. This is not a passive act of simply sitting back and waiting for life to happen. It is an active trust built after you have made your best effort. Many people confuse reliance with laziness, but true tawakkul is tying your camel, meaning taking all the reasonable steps you can, and then trusting completely in the plan of the Almighty. Overthinking, on the other hand, is like tying your camel, checking the rope 100 times, and then sitting there all night worrying about whether it might still escape. It is an exhausting way to live. The heart finds peace when it understands its role and Allah's role. Your role is to make effort with sincerity, to use the abilities and opportunities Allah has given you, and to make dua for His help. Allah's role is to control the outcome, to determine what is truly good for you, and to protect you from what is harmful, even if you desire it. When you blur these roles, when you try to control what only Allah can control, you step into the world of overthinking. This is why many people, even after doing their best, still lie awake at night worrying. They think, what if my plan fails? What if they don't respond? What if I make a mistake? But if you truly believe that Allah's wisdom is greater than yours, you will know that if something is meant for you, it will never miss you, and if it is not meant for you, no amount of worrying will make it yours. This mindset transforms the way you deal with challenges. Tawakkul also frees you from the illusion that you must have all the answers before you take a step. Sometimes overthinking comes from the fear of starting without a perfect plan, but life rarely gives you perfect clarity in advance. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions often had to act with faith, even when the path ahead was uncertain. They made their plans, took their steps, and then placed their trust in Allah. This combination of effort and reliance brought them both peace of mind and success in their missions. It is important to note that tawakkul is not blind optimism. It is not about ignoring difficulties or pretending that everything will always go smoothly. It is about knowing that even if things don't go as you hoped, they will go as Allah has planned, and His plan is always better for you, even if it's hard to see in the moment. Overthinking makes you feel like you are carrying the weight of the world alone, while tawakkul reminds you that the one who created the world is also managing it. Practicing tawakkul in daily life means pausing when the mind begins to spiral and reminding yourself, I have done my part, and now I leave the rest to Allah. This statement is not just words, it is an act of worship. It's an acknowledgement that you are not in ultimate control, and that is a relief, not a loss. When you truly embrace tawakkul, overthinking loses its grip. You stop trying to predict every outcome and instead focus on what you can do now. You live with a calmer heart, knowing that no matter how events unfold, you are in the care of the most merciful. This shift in thinking is one of the most powerful cures for the endless mental loops that steal your peace. Mindfulness and gratitude are two powerful tools that can calm the mind and pull you out of the exhausting cycle of overthinking. Mindfulness means being fully present in the moment, aware of your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without being controlled by them. Gratitude is the habit of focusing on what you have rather than what you lack. When these two are combined, they create a strong shield against the mental noise that comes from living too much in the past or the future. One of the main reasons overthinking is so harmful is that it pulls you away from the present. Your mind starts replaying events from years ago or imagining scenarios that haven't happened yet. Mindfulness teaches you to gently bring your attention back to now. This doesn't mean you ignore your past or stop planning for your future, but it means you stop letting them steal your peace. When you practice mindfulness, you notice your thoughts, but you don't have to follow them wherever they go. It's like watching clouds drift across the sky. You see them, you acknowledge them, but you let them pass without getting pulled into their movement. One simple way to practice mindfulness is through deep breathing. Just a few slow breaths, with your attention focused entirely on the air entering and leaving your lungs, can quiet a racing mind. This small act reminds you that you are here in this moment and that not every thought needs to be entertained. You begin to realize that thoughts are like guests. Some are welcome, some are not, and you are the one who decides which ones get to stay. Gratitude works hand in hand with mindfulness. When you consciously focus on your blessings, your perspective shifts. Overthinking often grows from focusing too much on problems and fears. But when you turn your attention to what is already good in your life, your health, your family, your ability to see, walk, and breathe, you start to feel a sense of contentment. This contentment weakens the power of overthinking because you no longer see your life as a constant problem to be solved. Instead, you see it as a collection of blessings to be cared for and appreciated. In Islam, gratitude, shukr, is deeply connected to the heart's peace. Allah promises that if we are grateful, He will increase us in blessings. This is not only about material blessings, but also about peace of mind and clarity of thought. A grateful heart has less room for unnecessary worry, because it is busy recognizing Allah's favors. Even during times of difficulty, gratitude can change how you experience the hardship. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What can I learn from this, and what blessing can I still thank Allah for right now?" Combining mindfulness and gratitude is a practical way to stop overthinking. When your mind starts spiraling into endless what-ifs, pause, take a deep breath, and look around you. Notice the small details, the sound of birds, the warmth of sunlight, the taste of water. Then silently thank Allah for these small gifts. In that moment, you are both present and grateful, and it is very hard for overthinking to survive in such a space. When practiced daily, even for just a few minutes, mindfulness and gratitude train your mind to return to a place of calm whenever it starts to wander into worry. They remind you that life is happening now, not in the memories of yesterday or the fears of tomorrow. By living with awareness and thankfulness, you protect your heart from the exhausting storm of overthinking and open it to the tranquility that comes from truly trusting Allah's plan. The quickest way to stop overthinking is to replace worry with action and to anchor that action with dua and reliance on Allah. Overthinking feeds on inaction. The more you sit still while your mind runs in circles, the stronger those circles become. Taking even the smallest step forward breaks that cycle, because it gives your mind something productive to focus on instead of endlessly replaying the same scenarios. When action is combined with sincere dua, it not only engages your effort, but also invites Allah's help into your situation, and that is when real change happens. Many people think they have to wait until they have a perfect plan before they can act. But perfection is an illusion that often leads to paralysis. The truth is, you rarely need the whole staircase to start climbing. You only need to see the next step. That step could be as simple as making a phone call you've been avoiding, starting the first 5 minutes of a task you've been delaying, or seeking advice from someone trustworthy. Each small step creates momentum, and momentum is the enemy of overthinking. However, action alone is not enough if the heart is still tied in knots with worry. This is where dua comes in. Dua is not only a request for help, it is an act of surrender. It is telling Allah, I have done my part, and now I hand this matter over to you. That surrender is what frees the heart from carrying burdens it was never meant to bear. Dua is a reminder that results are not in your control, they are in His control. This understanding calms the racing mind because it shifts the focus from I must solve this alone to Allah is with me in this. Taking action with dua also prevents the trap of what if it goes wrong. Instead, you begin to think, even if it doesn't go as I planned, Allah's plan will be better for me in the long run. This doesn't mean you stop caring about the outcome. It means you stop tying your worth and your peace to it. Overthinking ties your peace to results. Faith ties your peace to Allah's wisdom. Another practical element in breaking overthinking is to set a time limit for thinking and decision making. If you allow yourself to think endlessly without boundaries, your mind will gladly wander for hours. But if you say, I will think about this for 30 minutes, then I will act, you create structure. Within that time, you can analyze, weigh options, and seek guidance. But when the time is up, you make your move. That move, no matter how small, is the bridge from thought to reality. It is also important to remember that overthinking is often rooted in fear of making mistakes. But in life, mistakes are not only inevitable, they are necessary for growth. Every mistake teaches you something you could never have learned from thinking alone. So taking action is not about being certain that you will succeed. It is about being willing to learn, adapt, and try again with Allah's help. The moment you replace excessive thinking with purposeful action and sincere dua, you begin to live differently. You stop letting your thoughts control you, and you start guiding them toward what is useful. You stop being stuck in what might happen, and start dealing with what is happening. This shift is not only the quickest way out of overthinking, it is also the path to a calmer heart, a clearer mind, and a stronger connection with Allah. When you live like this, you no longer measure your peace by how perfect life looks. You measure it by how deeply you trust Allah while doing your best. That is when overthinking loses its power and you gain the quiet strength that comes from knowing you are walking your path with faith and purpose. When a person begins to train themselves to stop overthinking, they often expect that their mind will suddenly become quiet forever. But the reality is, thoughts will still come, both helpful and unhelpful. The difference is that you will learn how to deal with them without letting them control you. One of the most important skills in this journey is the ability to redirect your thoughts toward what benefits you. This is a skill that takes time, patience, and awareness, but it is the key to lasting change. Overthinking thrives in a mind that allows every thought to grow unchecked. It is like a garden where weeds are left to spread without control. The longer they are left alone, the deeper their roots become and the harder they are to remove. Redirecting your thoughts is like tending to your mental garden. You notice when an unhelpful thought appears, and you choose to remove it or replace it with something better. This is not denial, it is discipline. You are not pretending the thought doesn't exist. You are deciding not to feed it. From an Islamic perspective, the heart and mind are deeply connected. The Quran reminds us to think deeply about what benefits us and to turn away from what distracts us from our purpose. This means we have the power to decide which thoughts deserve our energy. For example, when you find yourself replaying a past mistake over and over again, you can stop and say, "Yes, I made that mistake, but I have repented, and Allah is most forgiving. My job now is to do better." By actively choosing a thought that inspires growth instead of guilt, you break the chain of overthinking. One of the most effective ways to redirect thoughts is to engage in purposeful activity. Overthinking often comes from having too much idle time and too little focus. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, encouraged us to fill our time with good deeds, beneficial knowledge, and acts of service. These activities occupy the mind with things that matter, leaving less space for negative loops. When your mind is busy with reading, learning, helping others, or working on something meaningful, there is less room for destructive overthinking to take root. Another important part of this process is surrounding yourself with people who encourage clarity rather than confusion. Some environments feed overthinking, constantly negative conversations, endless speculation, gossip, and people who magnify fears instead of calming them. If you want to train your mind to be peaceful, be around those whose words and actions remind you of hope, patience, and trust in Allah. Redirecting your thoughts also means developing a habit of remembrance. Hikr, simple phrases like Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah, Subhan Allah, glory be to Allah, and Hasban Allah, who wa ni'mal wakil, Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs, are not just words, they are mental anchors. They bring the mind back from endless wandering to the truth that Allah is in control. The more you make Hikr a part of your daily life, the quicker you can pull yourself out of an unhelpful thought spiral. This doesn't mean you will never overthink again. It means you will notice it sooner and act faster to stop it. Instead of losing hours to useless thinking, you will spend a few minutes recognizing it, replacing it with something better, and moving forward. Over time, this becomes second nature. Your mind becomes more disciplined, your heart more content, and your life more productive. When you consistently redirect your thoughts toward what benefits you, overthinking no longer feels like a storm you can't escape. It becomes a passing cloud that you acknowledge but do not follow. This is the strength of a trained mind, a mind that serves you instead of controls you, guided by faith, focus, and the constant remembrance of Allah.